Hi friends, welcome back with a new amazing video from Top Movies Recap. Today I'm going to recap a 1992 romance and drama film titled Bitter Moon. Spoiler warning, watch out and take care. On their 7th anniversary, Nigel and Fiona Dobson are heading to Istanbul for a vacation. One day they discover a woman on the ship's restroom floor. They take care of her because she is weak and sobbing. Later in the evening, Fiona becomes exhausted and falls asleep, so Nigel goes to the ship's bar. The woman from before is dancing alone, completely oblivious to the rest of the world. When she comes to drink, Nigel watches on thirsty, and they chat about her being unwell earlier in the day. She begs him to amuse her, and Nigel uncomfortably obliges, noting that she is French and mistakenly calling her a frog with those legs. She may not be impressed by his wit. She departs on the deck, and a man in a wheelchair warns Nigel about the woman, saying she's a walking man trap. This man has difficulties, and he even accuses Nigel of having feelings for her. He then reveals his lifeless legs by claiming to be her husband and removing his cover. Okay, this man's problems sound legitimate. He pleads for Nigel's help via the door, and Nigel leads him to his room. The man introduces himself as Oscar Benton, and he offers to tell this story. Oscar is from a wealthy American family and once attempted to be a writer. Oscar's story begins in Paris, where he met his first love. The woman's name is Michelin or Mimi, and she doesn't have enough money for her bus fare, so he lends her his ticket and pays the fine later. As they part ways, they exchange glances. Oscar traveled to Paris to follow in the footsteps of Hemingway, Fitzgerald, and his other literary heroes. He authored it, but it was never published. He tries in that city that he found so beautiful, but these days he can't write, eat, or sleep without thinking about Mimi, and he even rides the bus route to no avail. Still, Oscar doesn't allow his romantic embers die down and goes on a date with a strange woman. He notices a woman waiting for them at the restaurant and instantly gets up and asks her out on a date for the next day. Mimi remembers his kindness and accepts the next day. They meet after her dance class and dine in a posh restaurant, toasting the bus route where they first met. Mimi, according to Oscar, was a mix of bodily maturity and youthful naivete that surmounted their age difference. He asks to see her dance, and she asks to read what he's written. Oscar is thrilled and feels lucky after Mimi confesses that she saved the ticket she had given her. They head to his apartment and begin a business meeting. Look at her, who wouldn't be? He claims that they held their business meeting on a carnival ride for 3 days, during which time he utters the 3 magical words for the first time, and they kiss that night. She does a sexual dance for him now that is a golden buzzer performance at breakfast, where she plays with her food and washes her body with the white fluid known as milk. He cleans up after her of such a wonderful boyfriend. Mimi is also a wonderful girlfriend. She takes care of his flagpole. These two are going to eat each other someday, and when he describes Mimi's lady cave in literary jargon, Nigel seems a little uncomfortable. He rises to depart, and Oscar thanks him for listening for so long. Nigel returns to his cabin, where Fiona has already fallen asleep. Oscar joins them for lunch the next day as Mimi dines with the captain. Oscar compliments Fiona on her beauty, making Nigel and her nervous. He explains that every relationship, even wonderful ones, has its farce and tragedy, which Nigel attempts to change. Oscar asks Nigel to join him again by talking about the weather. That shining thing is called the sun. Nigel takes pictures of it back to England. If you want some time later, Mimi comes back and massages Nigel's feet. Nigel gets visibly uncomfortable. Oscar resumes his story later. He and Mimi were on a skiing holiday once, and she peed on the television as they were watching a soap opera, and instead of stopping her, he ignored her. He approached her and placed his face in her pee, describing it as the most alive he had ever felt. Nigel expressed his uneasiness, and Oscar concluded that Nigel and Fiona do not have a good bodily relationship. After that happened, Nigel becomes enraged, but Oscar calms him down and resumes his story. They start experimenting. Oscar wishes to be humiliated by a beautiful woman, and the situation becomes tense. Mimi cuts his clothes, and they get into some strange situations. When Oscar asks Mimi if his writing is good, she claims she doesn't know enough English to judge it and instead concentrates on the sensuous aspects. Oscar becomes irritated as he tries to distress them. They go out with their friends and have a change of scene in the bar, where he becomes excessively flirtatious with another woman, prompting Mimi to respond by dancing with another man, kissing Oscar, who is injured and returning home. Mimi returns later and inquires as to why he departed without saying anything. Oscar becomes enraged, and she begs for his forgiveness. They continue their wild imaginations, but things aren't as hot as they used to be. As he narrates, Mimi appears, and Oscar adds that he and Nigel share one interest: Mimi. Nigel rushes back to his cabin, where Fiona notices that he has been gone for a long time and becomes envious of Mimi, but Nigel reassures her that everything is well. They encounter Isaiah Singh and his daughter Rita Singh later on. Isaiah inquires if they have children as well, but Nigel obviously does not want children, although Fiona does. On his way back to his cabin to acquire some warm clothes, Nigel is stopped by Mimi. She tells Nigel that Oscar is a sick guy and that he shouldn't trust all he says, and she invites him to her cabin later that evening. Later that evening, Nigel informs Fiona that he'll see Oscar again. Nigel does not attend the Oscars. Instead, he attends the Mimi Awards. Her room is dark and she is lying on the bed when he takes her hand and kisses it, but it's Oscar. Mimi enters the room laughing and Oscar says that Mimi likes Nigel and that she wants Oscar to tell him her entire story. Nigel is frustrated, but Oscar says that if he listens to his story, he can have Mimi. Oscar says that he and Mimi should have called it quits when their love died out, but he couldn't bear giving up the booty. When they meet with a female editor for his book one day, he is concerned that Mimi's stunning attire will make the editor jealous. During the meeting, they get into a disagreement and Mimi accidentally spills the editor's drink on her lap. They return to their apartment and have another fight. She threatens to leave him, but he is unconcerned. She packs her belongings and gives him one last goodbye, but he is too preoccupied with his writing. Mimi can't bear to leave him and asks for his forgiveness again. Over time, Oscar began to dread bedtime because Mimi wanted to do the mating dance, but he was not in the mood. He wanted to be out among the people, but he felt stuck with Mimi, who he chastised for drinking milk straight from the bottle one day. He responds by attacking her dance career while she responds by insulting his writings. She responds by demonstrating that milk bottles can fly, and they fight with him slapping her with a triple combo. Mimi passes out and Oscar trembles with fear. He dials the hospital, but she miraculously awakens just in time to urge him to embrace her, and he begs forgiveness. Mimi appears to be pleased for some reason, despite the fact that she has large scars on her face, and she boasts about how lovely they are as a couple, but Oscar tells it like it is. They're awful to each other and he wants to put an end to it, while Mimi wants to marry him and have his children. The final straw is when he states he despises her existence. Mimi calls him later to pack things up, but he declines. He spends a lonely night in the bar, and when he returns home, she is waiting for him. She begs him to take her back, but he is ice cold and heartless. She grips his legs and pleads even harder, promising to do whatever he wants. He's determined to make her life a living hell so she'll go on her own. So he refers to her by a different woman's name, which tears her heart. She cuts her hair the next day, but he doesn't notice and continues to chat about other women on the phone. The next day, she prepares a turkey for him, but he mocks her cooking. Mimi loses her confidence and self-respect as he flirts with other women and compares her haircut to a dog in front of them. When she tries to clean the area, he yells at her and degrades her appearance again. Mimi sits down and announces that she is pregnant. She wants to have the baby, but Oscar does not want to raise a child the way they are. She can only hold back her tears as he persuades her to abort the pregnancy. Seeing her frail condition, Oscar almost feels emotional, so he promises to take a vacation. Nigel argues that Oscar should be ashamed to tell this story, therefore it can't truly be true outside. Mimi is waiting for him and asks if he's still upset with her when she heals. On the plane, he suddenly falls into agony and is carried out. Mimi flies alone, understanding that Oscar ditched her. She wanted him to hear the story and judge her for himself, so he steps in and kisses her. When he asks when they can be alone, she tells him to finish the story first. He then goes to his wife, who is drunk and passive-aggressive with him for missing dinner and leaving her on the way back. They argue about his fascination with Oscar and Mimi, and later that night, Fiona gets seasick, so he gives her some pills and goes to Oscar. Oscar's story continues after dumping Mimi. He became pretty much a how do I put this a public property wherever there is a woman. He raised his flagpole one day on one similar public service. He is hit by a bus, survives but suffers a concussion and a fractured leg, and none of his new female friends come to check on him. Mimi arrives having undergone a spectacular makeover and confesses that she works as a dancer at a hotel. Oscar responds cynically, telling her to leave out of his life. Mimi stands up and extends her hand as a final goodbye. When he takes it, she drags him out of bed and he loses the use of his legs as a result. She then takes care of him, and as he has no way of stopping her, he realizes that she may still love him because no one hurts without caring. She takes up his phone one day and claims he is ill and unable to chat. It was the editor, and as a result, he will lose his chance to publish his book. Oscar starts to lament being cruel to her, but she orders him to quiet up because he can't do anything but sit in his solitary imprisonment. Mimi returns the next morning, noting that he peed on the wheelchair due to his inability to get up all night. She mocks him, causing him to cry, and then offers him a birthday present. It's a gun, buddy. I think she's trying to tell you something. She mockingly sings happy birthday to him and delivers him a cake that's half the size of his head. On a picnic, she tells that she will never be able to have children because the abortion operation left her with an infection. Oscar says he despises himself for this, while Mimi says she despises him even more. She puts him in the cold bathtub while she talks on the phone one day, forcing him to crawl out, and another day she takes the handsome stud to dinner and flirts with him, after which they dance to delight Oscar, who is unable to appreciate it. I think he prefers books to this sort of art, so while he watches, they go to the next room and do it afterward. Despite disliking one another, they marry, and that is the last important portion of his story. Things are no longer horrible, but Oscar still lives in constant fear. Nigel claims to understand him better and visits his wife, but she is still suffering from her illness. The next day is New Year's Eve, and the ship has organized a party. Nigel goes alone and dances with Mimi, and Oscar gives him a thumbs up. They meet at the bar and discuss Mimi after the countdown to the new year. Mimi and Oscar share a vulnerable but momentary moment before taking Nigel to dance. As Oscar holds his glass in the dance, he moves in for a kiss, but Mimi refuses him and says the story isn't finished yet. Nigel cautiously tries to talk to her as she recovers from her seasickness, but she saw what she saw and does not appreciate her husband having feelings for another woman, so she joins Mimi in a sensual dance. Oscar begs him to quit pouting since he sees these two lovebirds mating, but Nigel, well, who wouldn't sulk if their crush had the hots on their wife? Mimi and Fiona walk away and he goes out to the deck and yells into the storm. He goes to Fiona's room later, but Oscar is already there. The two girls are sleeping, and Oscar says that this is a great allegory for grace and beauty, and he goes on to appreciate Fiona's form, and Nigel chokes him in anger, but Oscar has a gun, a gift from Mimi, and he says that Nigel is unworthy to hear the rest of his story. Fearing for his life, Nigel shoots Mimi. Oscar shouts out that he and Mimi were just too greedy and then shoots himself. Nigel and Fiona are outside when Amrita arrives with a message from her father wishing them a happy new year. Fiona falls into Nigel's arms and they cuddle for a long time. We hope you enjoyed our video from today. If you enjoyed this video, please hit the like button and subscribe to our channel to receive notifications of new and interesting videos.